It's okay. That's fine. All right. Let's do this. I'm going to click. So on 1, 2, 3, we are live.
Wow. Goodness. Are we actually live?
Yeah, we should be. We should be.
Good.
So you ready? You ready to do your thing?
I'm ready. I think so. Hello and welcome to a Grays of Westminster Friday afternoon live stream, or in my case, Friday morning live stream. I'm Becky and joined on the tropical beach.
Exactly. I'm enjoying my holiday. I don't know where you are, Becky, but I am in a tropical beach. I'll call it Cancun, ready for the spring break.
Excellent. I really like it. It's more tropical than where I am, even. It's impressive.
All right. So, Bex,
yes,
tell us. So what time is it in the part of the world that you are in right now?
It's 9:15 and it's sunny. It's about, let me just see. I have to look on my phone because I haven't been outside. It's about 21 degrees at the moment. So it's warmed up a little bit in Florida. When I arrived, I was wearing my puffer jacket.
Wow.
I know. Yeah. But it's actually...
So now you're feeling like our North American viewers feeling, get up early in the morning and just get ready for the Friday live stream.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I've had some lovely messages from everyone on this side of the pond on my Instagram account. And also I can see coming through on the chat now. So thank you, everyone. I am going to try and enjoy myself as much as possible. And you've mysteriously teleported back into the shop. It's magic.
I've got a teleportation thing here, but I thought, instead of, because you're already on holiday, so someone has to be in office, to do all the admin stuff. So I'm back here. So you do your thing, and I'll keep an eye on everything. Make sure that our chat is behaving very well.
Excellent. Well, I'm also keeping an eye on the chat, just because I know that you love multitasking so much.
Yes, I can't do it, but I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Russell said, I love starting my Fridays with this stream. Yes, it's a good way to start a Friday, actually, to do a stream and have a little chat. Goodness me, apparently it's quite frigid in Texas, so bit chilly. I can't believe that Texas is icy. There's a few Texans joining us saying it's cold. Should send some of that Florida sunshine up to you there in Texas.
I agree. Absolutely. How was your trip, by the way? So did you pack your bags really well? Did you fly for like 20 hours on the plane and then you got like hand checked all the bits of luggage that you had with you?
It's about a 9.5 hour flight. So it's not 20 hours. Thank goodness. I don't think I'd be able to survive that. 9.5 hours was more than enough. But I like to think that I packed quite well. The only thing I forgot of all of my things, and I kept mentally reminding myself, like, go and get it from your camera bag, was my camera strap. So I don't have a strap on any of my cameras, which is ridiculous. I have all the anchors and no strap. So boo. And they're much more expensive over here than they are over there. So I'm not going to buy another one.
Aren't they supposed to be made in the United States? Or at least it's a Peak Designs American company. I mean, they're based in California, aren't they?
Maybe. I think that it's partly because whenever I look at prices in dollars, it always seems so much more.
Makes sense, yeah.
I was on Amazon yesterday and I was thinking, like, God, $3 for an avocado, which is probably about £2, but that just seemed like a lot of money for an avocado.
Well, I'll let you on a little secret. It's not 1-to-1 conversion. So it's, it's something like $1 to $1.2 or something.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It is about that, actually. I have to say a massive thank you to Michael for your contribution to the coffee fund. So sorry that you're having problems with your keyboard. And also massive thank you to Vince. Yes, I definitely need all of the caffeine this morning. I'm still jet lagged. To Jean, who told me to watch out for falling iguanas, which if that's a thing, that's quite cool. I would like to see some falling iguanas. And thank you to Jeremy as well. Now, Roy said, I love those Peak Design anchors. Actually, my first camera that I had to bring with me was my little L35 AF. And you can actually pretty much carry it without a strap. It's not a problem. It's small and light enough that it's not an issue. This one I picked up literally, a week ago? Well, a bit more, but 2 weeks ago. And I got it from a charity shop and the flash was broken. It just stayed popped up. So I was using tape to keep it down so that the camera wouldn't use its batteries. And then I managed to get it fixed right before I came over. So that was good. Nice.
And you've tested it as well. It's working.
Yeah, it's working. It's produced some lovely shots. I put a little reel up on Instagram the other day with some shots from there, which I was very pleased with. So yeah, now it's loaded up with some Kodak Ektar 100.
Well, look, I've got L35. You got L35 AF2. So we should do a proper comparison, isn't it?
Yeah, we should actually. We can do. I mean, I don't know if we have a strange review, just reviewing the vintage stuff, but yeah, we should absolutely do a little comparison.
Yeah, we should raise the price on them on the same level as Contax T2, I think.
Well, they're going for a few hundred
thousand plus
on eBay.
Plus. Yeah, well, no, L35 is a couple of hundreds, but I mean, I managed to get mine at for 50 quid. You managed to get yours at about the same, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Which is good, although I had to then do a bit of maintenance on it. But for sure, they are quite a bit more expensive than they were a few years back. And the Contax T2, who was the celebrity that used that one that made that really expensive?
I think it's all started with Kardashians, but now it's pretty much everyone uses them. So I think the last one was in Daya.
Right. Okay. So we blame the Kardashians for the price hike, but you never know. These might go up in price just because you and I are using them because we're so famous.
That's right. Well, that's what I'm saying. We should basically get like 100 of them on eBay for cheap and then release a couple of videos just to raise the prices. And then we can just retire early.
Exactly. I have to say thank you to Terry for your contribution towards a new Peak Design strap. Thank you very much, Terry.
Thank you.
And to Ian as well. I think what I have my eye on is the leash. Because I've got the slide light and I've got the cuff, which was what I was going to bring and left in my bag. So if I get the leash, which is like the little skinny one for film cameras and for smaller cameras, that will probably do me. It'll go on my Z50, it will go on the L35AF and even the FM3A probably.
But I've noticed a thing. I was looking at the straps the other day, and apparently they're third-party manufacturers or craftsmen. They making the straps and they add the anchor, the Peak Design anchor to them. So effectively, they would be compatible with all the little connectors. So yeah, those are available on eBay and Etsy.
All right. Well, I might have to do some research because I don't think I can go the whole next few weeks without a strap on my camera. I mean. To be honest, I haven't been able to do much photography yet, but I'm gonna get there eventually.
Absolutely. How much film did you get with you?
So I brought a roll for each week because I thought there's only so many pictures of skies and palm trees that I want to take. So I've got 2 rolls of Ektar, and then I thought I'll do some black and white, and I've had this roll of Cine Still. This one, I don't know if you can see that. This is the XX negative black and white, which I don't totally understand, but I think is about ISO 200. I mean, it doesn't actually say on it. It says, someone can please explain what ISO this film is to me, because it doesn't say what on the box.
I find ISO when I have to. That's a new Becky's t-shirt, I think.
I look at it and it says a whole bunch of, it says like 200, 250 with no filter, but I think it's talking about the color temperature. So anyway, if anyone knows what that is, then help me. It's DX film, so the camera will figure it out.
Absolutely. And this one came from lovely people at Analog Wonderland, isn't it?
It did, yeah, absolutely. And then I've also got my trusty Portraiture. I've got some Portraiture 160 just to tide me over because it's my favorite sort of go-to film.
You don't really want to go for 800 ISO. No, it's normally like something like Ektar 100 or maybe Porta 400 max because you got plenty of sun there.
Yeah, this is the only place where I don't take 400 ASA film if I can help it because I just don't need it. Andy did ask about me bringing a lead bag to carry it through X-ray machines. Now, I have a story. I
want to ask you about this. How was the whole check? Did you ask them to hand check your film, or did you just shove it in your backpack? That's it?
No, I mean, I was being quite cautious because I had literally just read quite an extensive blog article from a professional photographer talking about not X-raying your film. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to get them to hand check it because at one point A few years ago, I was going through the airport and they refused to hand check the film that was in the camera still. They said, like, I'm not going to hand check your camera. I have to put your camera through the machine. And that film came out with bands across it, which wasn't terrible, but it wasn't what I wanted. It was a bit of a shame. So today, so on Monday when I was flying, I had a little see-through bag with all my film in it, and I handed it over to the guy and I said, could you please have this hand checked for me? He said, yeah, sure. And then another guy pulled me to one side, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to get search, full body search now, because
you have film on you. Absolutely.
Because I'm one of those dodgy photographers. And he said, just so you know, and he made me stand in the spot on the little feet bit. And he said, just so you know, there's more radiation in the aeroplane than there is in the X-ray machine. So there's absolutely no point in you asking for it to be hand checked. And I was like, okay,
yeah,
sure,
sure, yeah.
And then he let me go, and I thought, okay, I was being taught by and then I got to the hand check bit, and the lady there said, I've been working in a camera shop for 15 years. I said, oh, funny, me too. Anyway, she said, you don't have to get it hand checked if it's lower than 1600 ISO.
Yeah, I read 800, but yeah, it's about 800, 1600.
And I was like, but I had low ISO, very sensitive black and white film. So, also infrared film and low sensitivity film. And I was like, so there's a whole bunch of films, basically. So my conclusion was, to be on the safe side, just get it hand checked. But I don't necessarily agree that the X-ray machines aren't going to do anything with the film, just from my personal experience of having had one ruined by an X-ray machine.
Yeah, there's a conflicting information on the online about this, because they say that the new X-ray machines are more powerful than the older ones, and therefore they can damage your film. So I'm not 100% sure what's the best way to around it. And then obviously you can buy those pouches where you can put your film in. Yeah. But then again, a lot of people say, well, I have it in my pouch. They scan the whole thing, and then they would want to open my luggage to look inside anyway, and then they would put those films through X-ray again. So does it make sense or not? But I think, a lot of people say, well, look, if you're going with like 800 plus film, then ideally try to buy it locally if you can, of course. But anything below, let's say 800 should be fine. Yeah.
Exactly. See, there's a few people, like, for example, Andy said lead bag. A lead bag is an option. Dixon said, except CT scans in some US airports, it will kill all film. So I, on the way back from the US last time, they wouldn't hand check my camera. That was the one. But from the UK, they were totally happy to do that for me. So at least on this occasion, my film hasn't been scanned, which is good. So let's see what happens. I mean, I'm thinking it may be possible that I can get it developed over here, so that at least I don't have that same issue when I go back.
Well, if any of you know a good place for developing in Florida, do let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, absolutely. Randall, thank you very much for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. He says it will be better tomorrow, 65 degrees and sunny. I don't know what that means, Randall, but it sounds good. It's pretty sunny today, I have to say. I mean, it was misty this morning, but it's nice and sunny now. I can't do
18 degrees Celsius.
Oh, it's warmer than that now. Oh, maybe that's too warm for Randall. I'm not sure. Yeah, because it's 21 at the moment and it's 9:30 in the morning. So balmy. I will go out and experience it. I haven't tried to buy film in Florida, Andy, actually ever. I may do that if I run out. So I've brought 4 rolls, just one for each week, kind of, but plus a little bit more, because I don't usually shoot a whole roll in one go unless I'm going on a specific photographic thing. But for the day-to-day stuff, I thought that would keep me covered.
What else did you take with you apart of film equipment?
So apart from my little L35 AF, which is my go anywhere camera, I brought my beloved Z6, which I have now managed to ram onto this table tripod and cannot get off. So I'm doing so well. But no, because I can't get purchase on the top bit, and I don't know if it's just because it's too early in the morning and I need another cup of coffee. But but
extra
anyway,
extra cups.
Yeah, the coffee is all that kind of like, it's a typical American coffee machine where you put the water in the back and you have the little filter and you put the grinds in, and then you get this little jug. It's like what everybody has in their houses.
And at the end, you get this little mug of muddy water, basically.
Yes, exactly that. So I've only had one very tiny cup of that so far today. Maybe when I've had my spinach later, I'll be like Popeye and I'll be able to get it off. But I can't get it off. I'm going to put an elastic band around it later and see if I can get more purchase on it. So I have my Z6. Some of you might have seen there, I've got my 50 macro because there's a lot of plant life here. I just saw that Stephen has said he got an email this morning saying that his 105 macro is at the shop, which is very exciting. I wish I had one of those lenses because that would have been perfect. We get in Florida, you get a lot of lizards, little lizards, and they're very skittish and they're a lot of fun to take pictures of. So anyway, I'm gonna challenge myself and try and get a few shots there. And then my day-to-day lens is the 24-70 f4.
Yeah, well, kind of proven and trusted lens, isn't it?
Yeah, if I could have gotten a hold of a 24-120 before I left, then I would have brought that because I really like that 24-120 lens. I was reviewing our footage because we filmed a few reviews recently, and the 24-120 pictures that came out were stunning. So I think that would have been a better alternative for me just for travel in general.
What about the size of it? Because I do find it's a little bit on the larger size for my taste. I would prefer 24-70 size personally.
Yeah, I think it's true. I am kind of reluctant to carry big, heavy things. I think if I was carrying any more lenses, then I prefer the 24-70. But because I've literally just got this and this, it's not so bad. What I really wanted was a 70-300 on an FTZ, which I don't have actually. It's missing from my. I'm wondering if I should just buy the F mount because I'm waiting, but the Z mount version doesn't seem to be coming.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a time where, a good option for the time being, and especially we're getting quite a lot of them right now because people upgrading to Z Plus, even there's no actually direct replacement.
Yeah, it's true. It's quite interesting. And something like the 70-200 would just be too big to travel with when you've got, if you're trying to actually also pack some clothes, as well as all the things, your microphone and your laptop and the
important things.
All the important things, and then suddenly you think, oh, I've got to put some clothes in this suitcase as well. Then having those big kind of heavy lenses in there isn't really an option because it's not a photographic trip specifically. I'm just going to take pictures because I like taking pictures.
That's true. And it's normally people just take one camera and maybe a couple of lenses, but since we are film shooters as well, so we prefer to get both, isn't it? So you want to have your film camera and you also want to have your digital camera. So I'm going to go on holiday, in March.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'll get my digital camera with me, but then I will have my Mamiya 7 as well. And then that's basically like having the one big lens with you, so you kind of have to really see how much stuff you can get because, as you say, you may need to get, a regular essentials like clothes with you as well.
Just a few clothes.
Just a few, a couple of socks,
Yeah, exactly. Where are you going in March?
Going to Portugal, going to have a road trip.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're flying to Faro, to south, and then driving all the way up to Porto, through Lisbon and the wine country, etc., etc. So it's hopefully going to be fun.
Beautiful. So you can do some landscape photography then?
Probably, yeah. It won't be, let's say, the main kind of thing to do there. But I've been to this place called Quinta Ramoneira, that's close to Portugal, and it's basically the hills and this river, and then there are vineyards basically along the mountain, which look fantastic. But I generally kind of feel should a bit of everything, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing your shots when you come back. Mine are all going to just be blue skies and palm trees.
Oh, it sounds good, and I'm sure that's a nice fresh sea air. It's always good, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. Roy was saying that the 70-200 f4 is a bit smaller, not smaller than the 70-300, of course, and that he thinks that
not small enough, I would say. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for travel, exactly. The 70-300 is too slow, but I don't find it too slow. I mean, obviously it does have a smaller aperture, but when you're shooting at the longer end, it's not that noticeable, really. It's not like you lose that much depth of field. I don't know many people who shoot at 200 at f2.8 if they're trying to get more than a slither of something in focus. So I suppose it all depends on what kind of pictures you like to take. And then
that's true.
And then thank you very much again to Randall, who was telling us, is explaining that it's -4 degrees in Texas at the moment.
Wow.
Translating the Fahrenheit to Celsius for us, which is very helpful because maybe I'll get used to it by the time I get here. My parents also talk in Fahrenheit now and I don't understand them.
Tracy, you just need a couple of years in there and you're going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, exactly. And John gave his 70-300 to his sister, which is very nice of you, John. I'm sure she was very pleased. And as Andy said, please do give us a like. We've got 188 watching and only 51 likes. So we should definitely like the stream. That was super helpful. I know it's not a normal stream, but it's still nice to do. Sam said that she nearly shot some film last night and managed to get 6 shots done before the batteries died.
That was close. 6 shots. Well, 6 shots is better than 0 shots. I can tell you that.
It's true. It's a bit of a mysterious one. Dave is going to be taking Z6, 1430, 2470, and 70-300 with the FTZ to California. That Fantastic. Is a really nice setup, actually.
Yeah.
I did think about bringing the 14-30, but I find I don't shoot that wide on a general day-to-day thing. If I was going to, the West Coast, then I would definitely take a wide angle lens for all this, that road trip that you did a couple of years ago, right before COVID times, like 14-30 would be great for that.
Oh yes. Somewhere around the national parks, it would definitely be the right choice.
Yeah. But for this and for sort of like swampland and even the forests and swamps, there's a lot of swamps around here. 24 is more than wide enough. So you don't want to shoot like a wide angle close up shot of alligator or crocodile. Yeah, you don't need a wide angle shot of lens for that at all. No, like David Yarrow style. Yeah, but you just leave the camera and then wait for the thing to come and eat it. Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. That's basically how it goes. I've only ever seen one alligator since I've been here, and it was a tiny, tiny, tiny one. So I'm going to look out for them. It's people who say that this is alligator. Is it alligators that we have in Florida? Well, that's why I'm not sure. Alligator, crocodile. Alligator. Which one is larger? Oh, now you're asking. I don't know, but alligators are what Florida is kind of known for. And yet, for all the times I've been here, I've only ever seen one tiny one. So there you go. Good for you. It's not something that I would want to see casually walking along the street. Let's say that. No, exactly. Although I like the idea of the falling iguanas. There's a lot of lizards, though. There are a lot of lizards. Ed said, do they come to you and ask for a spare change? Yeah, they do. They're all over the place. So, like, spare some change, love. Except they don't speak like that because they're American lizards. So no, that's accents. Our local lizards here in London. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Of which we have so many. It's funny, Ed was saying, I'm helping a friend setting up her new Z6 II and I'm really liking it. Ooh, Ed, maybe you can be converted. The seed has been planted. Exactly. Robert's giving us a little education. So rough calculation of Celsius to Fahrenheit is you double the Celsius and then add 30. No, you double. Yeah. Okay. So that's helpful. You just have to work it out the other way around, -30 and split it in half. It took me a while to get used to miles over kilometers as well. So, but I know roughly it's like multiplied by 1.5, but with Celsius and Fahrenheit, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Yeah, exactly. I don't think in kilometers. The problem with being born and raised in England is that we use Imperial for some things and metric for other things. And,
very strange.
And it doesn't really make much sense. It's us being on that kind of like trying to fit in with the Europeans and then failing a little bit.
Yeah, you still measure in weight, like weight in stones and height in feet and all that. And we kind of more go to kilos and centimeters. Yeah,
exactly. A few people are saying it's definitely alligators that we see over here. Photog Opinion said alligator shoes, crocodile handbags. That's the difference. Sam said telling the difference between crocodiles and alligators is easy. One will see you later, the other will see you in a while.
Good stuff.
See you later, alligator.
Oh yeah.
In a while, crocodile. I like that very much. Thank you very much to Jerome for your contribution to the coffee fund.
Thank you, Jerome.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's amazing. So that was my setup. I mean, I do think, I've done this trip and I've done several trips with different setups. Like when we went to Greece a few years back, it was the D750 with the 24-120. I didn't bring anything else with me. Same setup when I went to Venice, actually. I brought the 20mm 1.8 prime and then used it like for 3 shots. And the rest of the time I used the 24-120. And then about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I came over here and I brought a full setup. I brought the D850, I brought the 24-120, the 20, and then I brought a couple of manual lenses, the 200mm f4, which is the little one that I love. And I can't remember if it was my 55 1.2 or if I had a different 50 at that point. But anyway, so I had I had a suitcase just full of cameras at that point. And it's interesting what you find yourself using. I used that 200mm on the D850 probably 80% of the time.
Did you find something that you weren't using at all, or you would try to use everything?
I tried to use everything. The 20 I used less and less as time went on. I found that although the 20 prime is brilliant, I've always had a lens that goes to 24, and the difference between the two is not so much. If I was going to do, for example, like Northern Lights or something like that, then the 21.8 would be ideal because the 24-120 is too slow. But now I ended up selling the 21.8G just because I just stopped using it after a while. It stopped becoming my kind of go-to lens for things.
I do find it a bit too wide for my personal preference. So yeah, it's rarely where I would need to shoot the wide angle landscape. So I'm happy to shoot 24-28 if I need to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if landscapes are your bread and butter, then obviously you want wider anyway, but then you probably want wider than 20. When I was editing our most recent video, I was having a look. I was shooting with an 18mm, and that was an interesting lens to shoot with because it gave you quite a different kind of perspective. But it's only useful really for interiors. I'd say for exteriors, everything just ends up being way too far away.
Do you think we'll see a Z18mm prime?
I think it would be good if they did maybe a 14 or a 16. I think 18 is too close to 20. And obviously we've got the 20 and the 24 already. Are they going to do a 28? Do you think at one point it was on the roadmap? I thought
I would like that personally, 28-1.8 just as an option, not 28-1.4. Obviously we do have 28 f2, no 2.8, which is a nice kind of street setup because it's quite portable, but 28-1.8 in the size of 24-1.8 would be quite nice because 28-1.4 would be a lot chunkier than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see, by the way, 85 1.2 that's just been they like patented or something?
Yeah, I heard the rumor. I haven't actually seen the patent documents, but yes, I do think that's quite exciting.
I didn't review the documents yet, so I can't say anything.
But we'll have a look before the next Nikon report. But I do find that quite interesting. I mean, that was what we were expecting, right? That's what we thought was going to happen. Yeah.
It seems like they're not doing 1.4s and they just go all in for 1.2s.
Yeah. So who needs 1.4? I mean, a little bit like Matt Irwin was saying last week. He didn't think that we were going to see 1.4s because the 1.8s are so good now. So
that's true. For me, still, I would prefer 1.4. It's just, I find 1.2 is a bit chunky for my taste, like, on the body like this. I mean, maybe when Z8 is out and it's bigger than Z7 and Z6, then it would be a nice kind of, balanced setup. But 51.2 on Z6, I find a little bit front heavy from, kind of, I would prefer somewhere. Yeah, I would prefer somewhere to be somewhere in the middle between 1.8 and 1.2 version size wise.
I will be interested to see how it does, because the 51.2 depth of field is so shallow. I mean, there was a picture that I took and I put it on Instagram last Christmas, and it was like of these little it's called firethorn is the colloquial name for the bush, but it has these little very bright red berries, and then they have an orange version. And I was focusing on one berry, and then weirdly, because there was a leaf much further down in the picture that was on the same focus plane, you had the berry and the leaf in focus, but the rest was out of focus.
Wow.
So it's kind of so it almost looked like it was like a wavy depth of field, because it messed with the perspective a bit. And I just think, so an 85 1.2 is going to have a similar effect. If you're focusing, let's say, on someone's eyes and their hand or a piece of their outfit or something is on the same plane, you're going to have this very slim and slightly odd depth of field, I would have thought.
Well, I'm worried that at 1.2 you may get the iris sharp, but actually eyelashes are going to be already blurred. So
yeah,
generally you wouldn't be shooting at 1.2 in most cases. You would need to stop down. And obviously I can see the point of it. The stop down, it would perform even better than any other lenses. But I do find that 1.4G is a nice compromise in terms of weight and size for the lens. And of course, if 1.2 comes out, I will probably save the money and I will upgrade. But it's not something that I would take with me on occasional thing. It would be probably a specifically scheduled portrait session that I would use it for. I wouldn't just take it randomly with me for a walk.
Yeah, exactly. I do have a question for you though. What kind of aperture do you tend to shoot the 1.4G at? What's its sort of sweet spot?
Generally, well, if I need a shallow depth of field, I would probably start at something like between 2 and 2.8. But generally, when, let's say, if you do kind of beauty fashion, you don't necessarily need a shallow depth of field. So in terms of this, you can shoot at f8. Especially studio setup, you can shoot at 5.6 f8 easily. Outdoors, if you need a landscape to be a part of the imagery you're taking, then again, anything between 5.6 and f8. So generally, I don't shoot very shallow unless it's you go for this creative effect in most cases. So I would generally shoot maybe something around 2.8, like for close up kind of type shots. And then if you start to kind of feed the full person in, you would increase to your 4, 5, 6.
Right. And your working distance does obviously have a lot to do with it as well. So for example, if you're not shooting at the closest focusing distance, and in that situation where I was just taking a picture and I had the one berry and the one leaf in focus, I was almost at the closest focusing distance. But when you're shooting portraiture, you wouldn't necessarily be doing that. So I suppose
that's the thing.
Help with the depth of field a bit as well.
Absolutely. I do, sometimes I do find that, people buying those lenses just shoot wide open. And I do find that in most cases, actually, it doesn't work really well for portraiture. So you really need to nail the shot. And in most cases, if you even like 1 millimeter slightly out of focus, just because maybe you move slightly closer, so we all breathe in, we all move in constantly. So then your shot becomes soft. So your eyes become soft, et cetera, et cetera. So in most cases, I do find that, the first mistake people do is they buy those wide aperture lenses and they shoot wide open. And then they say, well, why I can't get the sharpness right? And the answer for that is, well, you really want to stop it down a couple of stops just to be on the safe side.
Is that what I was doing wrong then? I'm joking.
Yeah.
Damn it. I'm obviously not. I don't generally shoot portrait work. In fact, I think the only time that I've done portraiture is when we've been forced to do it as part of like Nikon training or something like that. It used to be about once a year that I would go and do that, or maybe twice a year, but never more frequently. So we've been doing it a little bit more frequently than before, in fact, because we've got the video coming out on Sunday, don't we, where we did some portraiture.
Oh yeah, that one is actually quite cool. So yeah, we've it's ready. So it's I'm gonna upload it tonight, but definitely stay tuned for Sunday. It's actually a really good video with a catchy tune. I can tell you that.
I'm still singing it even now.
That's
It's
true.
a lovely day.
Exactly.
It was stuck on loop in my head. It's no, it is a great video, and actually it's quite enlightening, I think, in terms of what some lenses are capable of doing and how sharp they can be. But also, when I was looking back, when I was reviewing that, and you know, the present audience will know better on Sunday when they get to watch it, I was also quite pleased with the results that I got from the Nikon lens, even though it's a much older lens. Obviously it wasn't as sharp, but it does give a really nice rendering. So if I had been shooting on a DSLR, it probably would have been better. With the Z cameras, it was a bit unforgiving. But yeah, anyway, it's very, very, very interesting. I was going to ask you another question about the 85, but it's gone out of my head. A couple of people were saying wide angle, like the 20, for example, or the 18 is very good. Another use that I put it towards was astrophotography, which I did I did quite a lot of at the beginning of lockdown, and then it petered out and I started doing other things. And I think with astrophotography, it's either something that you do a lot or you try it and it's not for you, sort of thing. So I enjoyed the experience of doing it, but it wasn't like I wanted to do it all the time, which was another reason why the 20 was not necessarily the right lens for me.
That's true. But, you know, speaking of depth of field as well, you know, people buying those lenses and, you know, just they start shoot wide open. And also another mistake that's kind of a lot of people, you know, stumble on is when you try to shoot group of people, even two people together, then you suddenly really need to stop down to f4, maybe even 5.6, maybe f8, you know, and when you start to increase the growth field, you may go all the way to f11. And then again, then people think, well, why did I buy this portrait lens? If I need to stop down, then I can just shoot everything with my 24-70, you know. But obviously, yeah, we're talking events here. Yeah, if you do events, you probably will do much better job with a 24-70 2.8 for group shots. And then have a second camera with either 51.2, let's say, or H5.1.2 for those kind of candid, no flash kind of low light shots that are fully wide open. So kind of both lenses have its place for this type of setup.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if a couple, it's interesting. Like Roy was saying, 85 is for headshots. Not necessarily. I think you can also use different lenses for purposes that they're not designed for. I quite enjoyed doing, what's the term? Environmental portraiture. It's like where you use a slightly wider than conventional lens to do portrait work because you want.
H5 is good for that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now I'm just having a little look. Yeah, and then Jerome said the 51.2 is too shallow for close portraiture. Start at I normally start at f2 and adjust accordingly. I think that the 51.2 is an interesting one. I loved shooting it at 1.2, but I wouldn't shoot people at 1.2 with it.
No, I wouldn't shoot people full stop. I'm just, you know, I'm all peace. But, you know, the thing about this is, I mean, the good thing about those lenses is, yes, if they're good at 1.2, they're going to be even better stop down. And that's what you get for, let's say, 51.2 at 1.8 is going to perform better than 51.8 at 1.8, you know. So in terms of this, yes, you also buying a lens for this, but just people who are starting with photography, they don't understand this. So that actually, when you stop down, the performance of the lens increases. Yeah,
exactly. So if it starts off good, then it's going to be even better when you stop it down a bit. I really do like shooting as wide as I can, just for that shallow depth of field effect. But it depends. As you say, it depends on what you're doing. Martin said 35mm is good for portraits in situ, which is true. Yeah, so just as you were saying, 35 is very good for that. I do like my 35 actually. Even the 1.8Z is very good. I love the 1.4G, but the 1.8 is very, very decent on the Z6.
Yeah, did you sell your 1.4G at some point?
Did. Yeah, I did. And now I don't have an F-mount lens that's autofocus for my F6, so I need to sort that out when I get back. It was my last G lens, and I was like, I needed to buy something else. so I traded it in. And I already had the 35-1.8 on the Z, so it seemed a bit odd to have two 35s.
That's true. Well, if you want to have a kind of a portable setup with UF6, go for 35 f2. It's the D version. It's not as good as 1.8G, of course, but it's quite small and light.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking I've got two 28mm lenses, manual focus, and I probably need to be a bit more logical. And maybe if I go for the 28 f2.8D or non-D, then it'll autofocus on the f6, and then I can use it as my 28mm on my FM3A.
Well, it's not going to feel as nice though as manual focus.
It's not. I know. It's just so many lenses.
That's true. So let's not be logical and rational about this. You got to get them all.
Just get another 35mm. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to like be logical about what I use each camera for. And
that's your mistake, Becky.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's where I was going wrong. Oh, good to know. So yeah, I have two 28s. I have a 28 3.5. Which is lovely. It's a pre-AI conversion. And then I've got a 28 AIS, which is a 2.8, and it's got a CPU chip on it. So
did you do it yourself, the CPU chip?
No, I bought it like that actually. But I have done them myself, but this one I bought as it was. So it's quite interesting. You can't, obviously it's not autofocus, but at least your EXIF data gets passed along, which is quite useful. Anyway, I digress a little bit. So in terms of travel setups, Dave says, I tend to use zooms when out doing landscapes and favor fast primes for cities and street photography. Love the dimensionality they give you. That's a good point. I tend to, although I love primes, zooms are so convenient. One that I haven't tried out and I haven't talked about is the 24-200. I actually haven't really tried that lens. You have, haven't you?
Which one?
24-200.
Yes. I think it's perfect lens for the travel if you're not being too uptight about it, if you see what I mean. So if you buying a lens, I'm buying convenience of a range over the performance, then the overall sharpness. It's a fantastic lens. It's a really good value for money, and it's better than any other all-round zooms that Nikon ever released. So in terms of this, if you know what to expect from it, then it's absolutely fine. But yeah, it's not going to perform as well as your 24, let's say 120 lens or, 20, even 20, well, 24-70 is kind of on par with 24-200. But I personally think it's a perfect lens. And actually, I tend to get zooms for the city and primes for the landscapes, because in the city I may need to do a bit of architecture shots, and then I might need to do a bit of portraiture, let's say, and a bit of close-up or something, and then for landscapes I kind of know that I'm pretty much gonna shoot wide, so I'm gonna have a prime lens for it. So that's kind of my setup.
And what's your go-to landscape prime?
Well, I don't do landscapes, full stop. So in terms of this, I don't really have a prime lens for this type of thing. So I think my widest prime is, I'm not talking film setup because I got 28mm there, but I've got the equivalent of 21mm on my Mamiya, which is interesting. It's pretty good. But on Nikon, I think my widest prime is 35, and that's as far as I go. So I would shoot the landscape on a zoom, something like 24-70 at 24.
Right, but 35.
Yeah, I know it's not that. Yeah, exactly. It's not the ideal situation, but I'm not a landscape photographer as well, so I'm not bringing 20 stackable leaf filters, etc., etc. So.
That's fair enough. John said, "I like shooting landscapes with my 500 PF." I do understand that, actually, the kind of that compression that telephoto lenses give you when you're doing landscape, if you've got the space for it. That's the thing. Depends on the kind of landscape you're doing, but if you've got a landscape where you've got lots and lots of distance, then actually the telephotos work really nicely for that.
That's true. And that's the thing, when they say like a portrait lens or landscape lens, technically those are kind of guidelines, because technically you can shoot landscape with a wide angle lens, and you also can shoot it with 500 telephoto lens. And you can do the same with portraits. You can shoot a portrait if you need to at, let's say, 14 and 20mm, if it's your, creative decision. So, so you can do those things. So effectively, we would call it 85 as a portrait lens, but at the end of the day, creativity is what, kind of the main factor of the equipment you choose, I would say.
Exactly. It doesn't necessarily, you don't have to pigeonhole your lenses and just say, well, that's not a lens that's designed for that, so I won't use it for that. Might be pleasantly surprised, in fact. Now, Steve said, I find the 24-200 is at least as sharp as the 24-120G and gives extra reach. You've done some brick wall tests with the lenses. Have you compared those two yet?
Well, no, the problem is, I'm still waiting for the 24-200 from Nikon. So I've asked for loan, and I'm waiting for their reply. But ideally, what we want to do is actually test them all the 24 plus lenses, all the zooms, including 28-75 that just came out. So once I'll have them, I definitely will do some comparison. I do have old brick wall shots for the 24-200 lens that I reviewed about last year. Yeah. So I agree. But as I say, we talked about 24-120 f-mount lens to death, and you know my opinion about it. So I do agree that 24-200Z will perform better than the 24-200G, but that's because I'm not very biased towards this lens. It wasn't, let's say, it wasn't my choice of a lens. So yeah.
No, I know. Whereas I always enjoyed it. I just preferred the range, and also there wasn't. The thing is that there wasn't a 24-70 f4, so there wasn't a sort of smaller, lightweight thing. There was the 24-85, which was
3.5 to 4.5. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, I had the non-VR version. I had it for a few years. Someone, won't mention names, my husband, dropped it. And it broke into a dozen little tiny pieces and could not be put back together, because it was not an expensively made lens. At one point, it was a kit lens with a D100, believe it or not. That non-VR but G 24-85.
Yeah, that was a plastic mount lens, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't, but it was made in Japan originally, then made in Thailand, and they did change the material slightly, but it wasn't.
Oh, yes, you're right. And then there was a 2.8 to f4 version, which while it had a wider aperture, wasn't as good as the G version.
Exactly. So then the G version, obviously, they more recently, in the last sort of 7 years, made a VR version, which once my old version had broken, I opted for, and I didn't like it. It didn't give me that kind of, it was perfectly serviceable, but it didn't have quite the same kind of rendering in comparison to the old non-VR version. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so that's why 24-120G was the option for me. But if they'd had something like this in the F mount, where it's really, really high quality, it's an S-line lens, but it's small, then I probably would have had that instead. David has the 24-85 and says it covers what he needs and is lightweight. It's true. It's definitely lighter than 24-120.
Yeah, it's a good range.
Yeah. Deborah made an interesting comment. She said, when I travel, I get to relax and take my time, so I get great images, so you're not hurrying. But I want my best lenses with me, and it's always an issue. Yeah, it's
that's the problem traveling with your second half, because you want to relax and take your pictures, and your half wants to go somewhere else. So you don't really have, I don't really have time to, let's say, bring a tripod with me. So, and just because, every time I'm about to set up to take the shot, we say, oh, we have to go somewhere else, so...
Yeah, I know. This is the beauty of kind of photographic focused holidays, I think, because then you're with people or you're by yourself, depending on how you roll, who share in that kind of ethos of, oh, there's a scene that I want to capture, and nobody's going to go like, oh no.
Again, you're taking picture again.
Yeah, it's like, oh, for goodness sake. So I definitely think we need more of that stuff, more of the getting out and about with our cameras for the purpose of taking pictures, but also to kind of chill, because it can be quite intense if you're going for the purpose of, in our case, it's like, we go to review a piece of equipment, or we have specific shots in mind, and it can be quite sort of hectic. It's definitely not relaxing, that's for sure.
But it's always fun to see what pictures we came out with, because, we're shooting the same thing, and obviously everyone is different. So let's say, you would shoot, let's say, the same scene, but with slightly different focal distance or slightly different angle, and I would do, it's a completely different thing. And it's always interesting just to compare the results. And then at the end of the day, we kind of, while we, let's say, we notice different aspects, but we agree to certain things. So if we don't like something, we kind of agree on that because we finally handled it and we know what it is like.
Yeah, exactly. It's very interesting. I had a lovely email from Ian, who actually picked up the Sigma 150 to 600 based off our videos when we went around doing bird photography and stuff, and his kind of conclusions were the same as ours. It takes a bit of getting used to move the zoom in the other direction, but it's a superb lens actually, and it fills a gap that can almost be covered by a Nikon lens, but not quite. And I think you and I both had similar conclusions when we did that video as well. It's good that we agree on stuff.
It'd be much worse if we wouldn't agree. Well, unless it's Z50 and 24 to 120 lenses.
Yeah, those. Yeah, we can agree to disagree on those. Yeah. It's interesting because Brian's actually got both the 24-70 f4 and the 24 to 200, and he said for landscapes I find the 24-70 f4 is excellent, especially for infrared. The 24 to 200 also works really well, except for infrared. It can be a teeny tiny bit soft at the 200mm end. So that's from someone who actually has both lenses and is using them in kind of real world examples. I always think it's, obviously all-in-one lenses, as they're known as, get a bad rep because they are going to be compromising somewhere. But I think, as you say, if you're not being super critical, and if you just, you just want to capture the memories, the moments, and you will get some great shots. You'll probably get better shots than you would have expected. The 24 to 200 can do all that and more.
Absolutely. It's all up to you how you're going to take your images and what you're going to take it with. When you're reviewing the lenses, and when I look at, let's say, look for the lenses, I always type in the name of the lens, the model of the lens, and then Flickr next to it. And then you go on that page and there are 1,000 pictures of cats, and flowers that it just tells you it doesn't matter what piece of equipment you're going to get, even if it's a, let's say 15.95 for $8,000 or whatever it costs, they still, it's up to you what you're going to use it for. So at the end of the day, if you're going to take a picture of your cat, then you probably don't need to spend, let's say, $9-10 on a lens. You probably can get away with 24-70. But 24-70 f4, while it's been a kit lens, I think it's just, because we talk so much about it, it just shows that while we consider it a kit lens, is actually, I think, one of the best kit lenses that Nikon ever made, because I would recommend 24-70 f4 to anyone getting into that system, just because it's so good and it's so inexpensive when you bind it together with a camera.
Yeah, very, very true. And it really does produce great results. The one day that I had the Z9 by myself, unsupervised, and I didn't really know what I wanted to shoot. All I knew was that I wanted to get some hands-on experience with the camera, and the lens that I took with me was the 24-70 f4, and it did a great job. It really did. No complaints about the shots that came out of that. John's talking about having too many lenses and that his wife's complaining that he doesn't use them all. Terry said
that's right, and the problem is she's carrying it for him and he's not using them all. It's just waste of space.
Exactly. Isn't it? Terry said my wife's going to put on my grave he had the wrong lens on again. So it's a difficult thing. And then John said I do take my Hasselblad with us, then I have to buy some flowers as well, and rightly so, John, rightly so.
Yes, flowers are always good. I
think if your wife, poor thing, is gonna have to carry around all your equipment for a very legitimate reason, I know that there's a reason why you can't carry your equipment, then the lady deserves some flowers. Particularly if she's not a photographer.
Yeah, you see, my wife, she generally, when we travel, she takes with her the tiniest bag possible. So for me, I would have to carry equipment plus her stuff on top of it.
Yeah, just the smallest, tiniest. Yes, just wait. Exactly. Yeah, if you have decided you're going to have children, then you'll have 3 or 4 bags. It's great fun.
Well, then probably 24 to 200 with the Z6. That would be the only setup I would take with me.
Exactly. Yeah. Interesting. Alex said, I'm looking for a different brand for wildlife, as I definitely won't afford the new 400mm to get the reach I'm looking for, but still keeping a Nikon Z7. Now, obviously there is that Nikon, what are we thinking it's going to be, a 6.3 or a 5.6 400mm?
Oh yes, well Tom Hongan thinking 4.5, but I think it's going to be 5.6 personally.
Yeah, and potentially PF, so a
Yeah,
phase personal
definitely.
lens, because it's
Hmm.
tiny. So that will probably fill the gap. And I assume that it's also going to be, well, I hope that it's not going to be at the same price point, but it might be around the sort of 500 PF price point.
That's true. And also, why not to 100 to 400 lens?
Yeah, 100 to 400 is great. I have to say, I really, gosh, I'm really impressed with the way that that lens performs and with the teleconverter. I didn't expect it to perform so well with the teleconverter, but looking at all the shots that I've taken away from our excursion with
Hmm.
it, I'm really pleased with them. There was only like one or two really long distance stuff, you know, when we were shooting at infinity, that I was kind of, I thought, I could have done better, but I think that was a number of combinations of things, and also because the subject was just so far away.
That's true. And then we also have 200 to 600 lens on horizon. So that should be out hopefully this year. So that, again, if we think that it would be something like 200 to 500 f mount replacement, then price wise is going to be very reasonable. So I guess it would be something around 1,500 to 2,000 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. Alex has a Winter Watch episode on BBC iPlayer. I don't know if I can get that over in the States, but I will check it out if I can.
Speaking of BBC, there's a Beijing Winter Olympics ceremony. I don't know if it's finished, but it's been going on just before we started.
That's right. Yeah. So for all the kind of sports enthusiasts and sport photographers out there, then that will be something. I mean, we considered discussing that today, but I think neither of us are experts on the subject.
Yeah, us couch professionals, couch sports photographers.
That's right, exactly. I'm a sofa expert. Um, so anyway, that's what I've got with me. That's my setup. I'd be interested to know if there's anyone else that has any other suggestions. Oh, it's too late for me now. I can't bring anything, but but for my next excursion or for your trip to Portugal,
We will ship it to you.
Yeah, thank you. That would be great. It'll arrive just as I'm leaving now. No, it won't. It's quite fast, the post. But I was thinking 100 to 400 would have been good. The amount of bird life there is in Florida would have been great. Have we had to give our demo back yet?
No, it's still there. But yeah, I can imagine you wouldn't need to leave your balcony. You could just sit on your balcony, put teleconverter on, and here you go.
Exactly. Don't need to leave the room. It's great. Anyway, lovely comments through. Nick was asking why I'm working on holiday. It's a really great question, Nick. I don't know. Just can't leave.
I can't be alone.
No.
She doesn't let me, do the live stream by myself.
Don't trust him. No, I do think that you will have to do a couple. There will be a few weeks where I won't be able to do this time slot. So you're going to have to take the reins.
Absolutely. So if anyone has any suggestions, do definitely type them out. What would you like to talk about? So I was thinking talk about scanning, film, but I don't think that majority of our audience would enjoy that. So.
Well, I think it's worth asking the question. So for the weeks that Constantine's going to be, doing it one-man band, what would you like us to talk about? What would you like him to talk about? I might be able to get in on a chat occasionally, but I don't know if I'll be able to just be undisturbed and
you enjoy yourself, Becky. I can handle it, so okay. I'll just invite everyone to the pub and we're gonna do a live in-person live stream,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's
for those 5 people who are gonna come,
They're all 5 of them, all 5 of your fan club.
Exactly.
Just before I go, Alex did say, would you recommend, if you need more batteries, an additional battery or battery grip? I don't like battery grips. Con is a big advocate of battery grips, but I personally just would rather carry the extra batteries. Even when I've had a camera with a grip on it, I've still then gone like this. So the vertical grip just doesn't help me. So yeah, I would go extra batteries instead.
Yeah, no, I would recommend that. I use grip only for commercial works and, for jobs. And obviously, if you're doing a lot of portraiture in the studio, so just, if you're shooting whole day in the portrait mode, get a grip. It's just easier to have a second shot release. But for travel, no, definitely not.
No, exactly. Yannick brought in Florida, brought the D5 and the 500.
Nice.
PF. I should have brought my 500 PF. I didn't have room. I was about 100 grams within my suitcase weight limit. So unfortunately that wasn't an option, but that would have been very nice. Right.
So I guess you're not buying any souvenirs or anything.
No, I'm not bringing anything back for you. Sorry.
Not any famous junk food or like, the 2 million types of sodas or anything.
Oh, I'll see what I can do. If it's lightweight, if it's a bag of potato chips, I might be able to squeeze
some
it
nice
in.
beef jerky or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's all kinds of suggestions coming through for your talks when you're by yourself. So you can have a little read through those after. Definitely. We're pretty much up to an hour now.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're not going to keep you for too long now. So I guess let's wrap up. So you can enjoy the rest of the day. So what's it, 10 o'clock in the morning now? You're going to have a whole day for yourself. Yeah. Nice.
Very nice. I will be editing one of our videos as well.
Which one is that?
Next one is the 28mm versus the 40mm. The pancakes. Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed. Hopefully audio on this one is going to be good.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon/morning. It's been a great hour, and as I say, keep your suggestions coming for Konstantin, whether it's in the comments or in the chat. Then it would be helpful so that he's got some ideas of what to do while I'm away.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, I think one we're going to do solo and one live stream we're going to do with a special guest.
Nice. Excellent. All right. Well, you have the con, literally speaking. So you have to do the
I've got everything, isn't it? All right. Yeah. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to go back, I think, to the beach first. So
I was going to say you've frozen. So maybe
I am frozen. Okay. That's why the beach doesn't work. So, okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to hit the end stream button. So thanks everyone for watching us. We're going to be back next week with the podcast, with a live stream, and also on Sunday we're going to have a really nice 135 Nikon lens versus Sigma 135 lens. So do check this out as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.